Have you ever felt as if the world around you had conspired to rush forward, leaving you behind? Conversations lose their edge, invitations seem to vanish into thin air, and everything around you sinks into a strange, ringing silence. This oppressive emptiness is certainly not the result of a coincidence. There is something more behind it, some mechanism that causes you to freeze in place, not to punish or reject you, but to connect you to something much more meaningful and profound. It may not be so obvious now, but loneliness can be compared to a messenger from the universe who comes to remind you of forgotten truths, bring order to chaos, and prepare you for the accomplishments to come. And although it seems that everything is frozen, in fact, there is an invisible but continuous movement in your life. Don't be in a hurry to shift your attention, for the following will show you that this is not a dead end at all, but only the beginning of an amazing journey that will turn your view of yourself and the world around you upside down. The message that lurks in this silence is more than just filling an empty space. Solitude carries messages that often go unheard in the hustle and bustle of our daily lives. It is worth considering for a moment how often we allow ourselves to truly stop, disconnecting from external stimuli and worries to be alone with ourselves. It is in this silence, which can seem daunting at first, that something amazing begins to happen. It offers us the opportunity to look deep inside ourselves, to provide answers to questions we normally avoid, and to hear revelations that the outside world can never offer us. It's as if the universe is saying, it's time to hear what you really need to know. Loneliness is often mistakenly perceived as a sense of abandonment, but the truth is that it is a space of protection. When there is silence around us, it means that it is a time for inner realignment. This silence is a great opportunity to notice what was previously hidden behind the noise of everyday life. What feelings have we been experiencing lately? What thoughts arise when no one is around? These feelings are not random, but rather are small clues to the path each of us is on. When a person begins to move forward, inner voices that had previously gone unnoticed suddenly make themselves known. Perhaps at first the silence will seem unusual and even heavy, as if suffocating. The refusal of the usual flow of external stimuli can be perceived as a kind of deprivation, but it is in this feeling of discomfort and lies the opportunity for self-development. Important lessons are rarely given easily and at ease. This silence, which at first glance seems empty, is in fact full of profound meaning. It is as if it invites one to rediscover one's own self, to realize one's true values, and to reconnect with what has been hidden behind the constant noise of the world. When a person learns to accept silence as an ally, there will be a dramatic change in their inner world. Silence will no longer be a simple absence of sound, it will become a kind of internal dialogue. In the course of this dialogue, the person will be able to find answers to questions that previously remained unheeded, not because they were brought by someone from the outside, but because they were always present, patiently waiting to be heard. The main issue is the willingness of the individual to listen to what the silence is saying. Therefore, the next time the world whizzes by, one should not fall into despondency. It is better to pay attention to this moment. Moments of solitude present themselves as a unique opportunity for deeper self-discovery. Despite the seeming isolation, this time is not empty, but serves as a kind of bridge leading to something more meaningful. When one accepts this invitation to solitude, one discovers that there is much more value in silence than in the thousands of voices that surround one's daily life. The question arises, what exactly is silence trying to convey to us at this moment? Why does the universe, as if intentionally, distance us from the usual noise? It is worth pondering why it sometimes seems as if life is forcing us to slow down. Suddenly, connections with those around us weaken, plans fall apart, and loved ones seem to drift away. These periods of isolation are not random coincidences, they carry deep meaning. The universe, endowed with wisdom, knows when it is necessary to shield us from outside noise so that we can hear our own inner voice. And while it may not seem like it at first glance, it is actually a manifestation of caring, as if the very flow of life itself is telling us, Stop, take a breath, listen. The constant stream of information from social media, hurried conversations, and everyday worries deprive us of something truly precious. The ability to dive into the depths of our own consciousness is a valuable gift. In the frantic pace of modern life, when attention is constantly distracted by external stimuli, it is easy to lose touch with oneself. Often, it is in such moments, when it seems that the universe is putting us on a forced pause, that we get a chance to find inner harmony. This is not a punishment, but rather a wise design, for it is in silence that we can hear the answers to the deepest questions that have long been maturing within us. It can be difficult to feel disconnected from the world, as if you are being deliberately ignored. However, let's look at the situation from a different angle. When you detach yourself from external noise, you stop absorbing other people's energies and influences, which allows you to gain a deeper understanding of your true desires, fears, and needs. This state of introspection helps you separate your own thoughts and feelings from those imposed from the outside. This is where the key to transformation lies. What may seem like a lifeless void today may actually be fertile soil, ready to receive new seeds. Detachment from the hustle and bustle provides an opportunity to rethink your values and goals, which in turn leads to profound and positive change. This affirmation calls for trust in the natural course of events. At times it can feel like things are spiraling out of control, but in fact, the opposite is true. It is in these moments that the process of finding true power over oneself begins. When external stimuli recede into the background, it becomes possible to focus on the things that really matter. It is not surprising that many people find answers to their deepest questions during periods of solitude, as if the universe itself is trying to drown out the surrounding noise so that you can hear the inner voice. Therefore, when life seems to be deliberately distancing you from the hustle and bustle, you should accept it as an invitation to pause, even if at first it causes discomfort. You need to allow yourself to believe in the existence of something greater, something that may be incomprehensible at the moment, but will surely make sense in the future. The universe never acts without a definite purpose. It knows exactly what it is doing when it brings a person out of a state of chaos. Ultimately, how could one hear the voice of one's own soul if the external noise never stops? Loneliness is a kind of portal to the self. Solitude is not just a respite from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, but rather a gateway that opens to the depths of the true self. When the external noises subside, so do the masks we used to wear to conform to the expectations of the world around us. It is in such moments, in the silence of solitude, that a person begins to recognize his true self, free from imposed roles and other people's opinions, which often do not reflect his inner world. Solitude confronts the individual with the mirror of his or herself, and this encounter can evoke both a sense of liberation and fear. Think back to times when circumstances or your own desire took you to solitude, and what reflections then arose. Looking within yourself can be difficult, because it means encountering aspects of yourself that may have been ignored for a long time. However, despite the challenges, it is in this process of self-discovery that the true magic lies. Loneliness creates that necessary space in which one can realize and accept oneself as one really is. Because without this connection to one's essence, everything around seems to be sum. Paradoxically, even in moments when life seems full, one can feel an inner emptiness. It is in this state of isolation that the path to a surprising discovery opens up. One comes to realize that the constant reliance on the outside world, which previously seemed an integral part of existence, is gradually losing its importance. The need for the approval of others and the desire to be accepted by society gives way to a new, internal source of strength, independent of external circumstances. Loneliness, contrary to popular belief, becomes not a punishment, but a return to oneself. It provides a unique opportunity to reconnect with your true desires, passions, and what makes your heart beat faster. It is as if the universe is saying, before you move forward, before you achieve everything you desire, a journey inside yourself is the first step towards any true transformation. By immersing himself in self-discovery, a person realizes that he does not need to follow conventional patterns. He gains the freedom to be authentic, unique, and this inner strength becomes truly powerful. The next time loneliness knocks on your door, do not be in a hurry to see it as an enemy. Try to realize that his visit is not accidental, but carries an important mission. It is a kind of portal that can direct you to the most intimate place, to the depths of your own self. It is there, in the silence of the inner world, you will be able to find the answers to the questions that have long tormented you. After all, true happiness, contrary to popular belief, does not come from the outside, but is born in the very core of your being. And it is loneliness can be the guide that will help you find it. Are moments of isolation a punishment, or still a blessing? How often do we perceive periods of solitude as a kind of punishment, as if we were left on the margins of life, forgotten or rejected? And this is understandable, especially when we are in the midst of a mental storm. But what if we look at it from a different angle, and see these moments not as punishment, but as a hidden opportunity? As difficult as it may be to accept, periods of isolation hold unique potential for personal growth, self-discovery, and preparation for something bigger and more meaningful. When the outside world seems distant and aloof, it's as if the universe is providing you with a space to rejuvenate, rethink your values, and fill with new energy. Imagine an archer who, before releasing an arrow, first draws it back. This backward movement, seemingly contradictory at first glance, is in fact absolutely necessary for the arrow to reach its target with maximum accuracy and power. Similarly, periods of isolation in life can be the very moment of pulling back the arrow, a time of preparation for the next significant step. Such periods of solitude provide an opportunity to rethink one's true goals, strengthen one's emotional stability, and, like pulling a bowstring, build up the necessary momentum for a future leap. This is not a failure or stagnation, but rather a powerful push that can propel you forward. It is quite natural that in such moments there may be a desire to fight the silence, filling the void with any distractions, just to avoid the inner dialogue. However, it is in embracing this silence and continuity that the key to the greatest learning lies. It is worth looking at this time as a transitional phase, realizing that life does not stop even when everything around us seems to have come to a standstill. In this seeming stagnation, there is invisible movement, inner processes, and it is in these pauses that the deepest and most meaningful transformations are born. It is important to remember that every meaningful process of healing, redefinition, or evolution invariably begins with a period of reflection and introspection. Just as a caterpillar going into its cocoon has no idea what awaits it when it emerges, so too, a human being going into a period of isolation prepares for rebirth and a new phase of his or her journey. Immersing oneself, like being in a cocoon, can seem bleak and lonely, like a dead end. However, in fact, it is not the end of the path, but only the beginning of a new phase. Like a caterpillar enclosing itself in a cocoon to metamorphose into a butterfly. And for humans, periods of isolation are times of transformation. It is a unique time when something wonderful is maturing inside, even if it is not yet obvious. It is important not to push away these moments of solitude, but rather to accept them as a valuable gift, as an opportunity for inner renewal, rethinking and discovering new facets of oneself. It is not a question of reducing life opportunities, but of preparing for their further expansion. Having completed this stage, a person emerges renewed, stronger, and more stable, ready for new accomplishments, exceeding all previous expectations. Ultimately, it is impossible to achieve profound personal change without periods of solitude and introspection. It is not a dead end, but a starting point for something extraordinary. It is the transformative power of reflection. Try to imagine that the isolation that causes you so much anxiety is actually the beginning of your personal ascent. The greatest transformations in a person's life often begin with withdrawal from the hustle and bustle and immersion in solitude. This is not a sign of weakness, but rather a valuable opportunity for rebirth. The period of solitude, which at first glance may seem like a punishment, is actually a time when the foundations for future change are laid. These changes do not occur on the surface. They mature deep down, away from prying eyes, where nothing can interfere with their growth. Like nature's cycles, human reflection is an important prerequisite for further development. Gathering one's thoughts is an act that requires considerable courage, as it forces one to face one's inner experiences without outside distractions. In such moments, one must face one's suffering, fears, and even insecurities. It is in this inner confrontation that the potential for transformation lies. Every tear shed in silence, every doubt that visits the mind, shapes the personality, making it stronger. This process can be compared to the work of a sculptor who cuts away the excess to reveal to the world a work of art hidden under a pile of stone. Each person is a work of art in the process of unfolding. During this solitude, there is often a sense of, at times, it seems as if the world is frozen in immobility, and the cherished answers to life's questions seem unattainable. However, it should be remembered that even in periods of apparent calm, the universe is working tirelessly for the benefit of everyone. It is in such moments of apparent calm, when external activity is reduced, that the most significant inner movement takes place. It is similar to the way a tree seems lifeless during the winter months, but in fact, it directs all its resources to prepare for the spring blossoming. So too, without even realizing it, a person is in the process of preparing for a new stage. Moreover, memories, like a prism, help to rethink the path of life. Detaching from the daily hustle and bustle, there is an opportunity to look at what is happening from the outside, with greater clarity and understanding. During this period, there is a reassessment of priorities. Emotions find a new balance, and values are subject to rethinking. As a result of this process, one begins to see what really matters, and what seemed important before may lose its significance. This is the transformative power of caregiving. It allows for a new vision of oneself and one's true desires for the future. Ultimately, caregiving prepares a person for the events to come. It is similar to recharging a battery before an upcoming journey. When the time is right, the person will be ready for new accomplishments and discoveries. The period of loneliness is not eternal. It will certainly lead to personal growth. A person will become stronger in spirit, gain a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him, and establish a closer connection with his inner self. Instead of resisting this state, it is worth allowing yourself to plunge into it, considering it as a valuable gift of fate. This time is given so that a person can develop, gain wisdom, and prepare for future events. After all, in the very depths of the soul, every setback or failure is a harbinger of positive changes to come. Is a person ready to accept this fact? Sometimes there is a feeling that the world around is collapsing, as if life has gone off the planned path. Relationships break up, plans fail, opportunities slip away, and a person feels lost in the void. But what if this seeming collapse is actually a rebuilding process? What if it is not the very foundations of life that are being destroyed, but only outdated structures that are no longer useful? Sometimes it is necessary to tear down old walls in order to build something new and stronger in their place. Let us think of an earthquake. At first glance, this natural disaster seems devastating, but at the same time it reveals weaknesses in old structures, paving the way for future improvements. There are inevitably times in everyone's life when everything seems to go wrong, and these moments of collapse play an important role. The universe, like a wise mentor, points out the weaknesses in our lives, shows us where our standards are outdated and need to be revised, and where we need to free ourselves from old attachments to open the way for personal growth. These processes can be painful because we tend to cling to the familiar, even if it brings us harm. However, it is worth trusting the course of events, as the destruction of the old creates space for something new and better to emerge. These moments of crisis teach us valuable lessons. because it is in the chaos that we discover hidden strengths and resources we didn't even realize we had. When all seems lost, we are forced to dig deep into ourselves, look for unconventional solutions, and rethink who we are. Like the phoenix rising from the ashes, we are reborn, renewed, and stronger. If things seem to be slipping out of control today, perhaps it is a sign that something big is coming and needs space to manifest. Another amazing thing about these moments of crisis is that they help us. In times of upheaval and instability, when the familiar world around us loses its footing, there is an urgent need to turn to deep values, to the source of inner strength that gives us resilience. Painful losses and radical changes, like a cleansing fire, cut off everything superficial and false, exposing the true essence. It is like painstakingly sifting through sand in the hope of finding precious gold. And when the treasure is finally found, it becomes obvious that all the effort was not in vain. Therefore, when everything seems to be falling apart, one should not give in to despair. It is necessary to take a deep breath and trust the natural course of events. One should realize that even in moments of deconstruction, when what is happening seems devoid of any meaning, something important is being prepared. The universe never takes away without offering something more valuable in return. And often, what appears to replace the lost exceeds all the most daring expectations. Therefore, it is worth asking, what is created in this chaos, and how can we use this moment for our own growth and gaining inner confidence? At times when loneliness is felt most acutely, a person often feels lost and detached from the whole world. But it is worth considering whether this feeling is deceptive. It may be worth considering that this feeling of isolation may be the starting point for a deeper understanding of one's true purpose. Isolation does not represent a rejection of the world, but rather a refocusing of attention. When the universe shields one from clutter and distractions, it thereby pushes one towards something more meaningful that can only be discerned in silence. For too long, people have been guided by other people's expectations, accepted norms, and paths that seemed safest. But at a certain point, life calls each person to a unique destiny, to accomplish something that is within his or her control. And in order to hear this call, silence is necessary. It is in this silent space that clues begin to appear, like a quiet whisper, which can be heard only when the world around is quiet. Every doubt, every experience, and every reflection that arises during this period are steps that bring one closer to the purpose for which one came into this world. Connecting to one's true mission is a process that comes from within. It is not about external achievements, recognition, or approval from the outside. It is not about momentary success, but about something that causes a thrill in your soul, even when no one is looking at you. It is these moments of solitude that become a valuable gift, allowing you to see what is usually hidden behind a shroud of distractions. During such periods, one begins to ask the questions: what really brings me joy? What would I do even if no one noticed my efforts? These reflections become the starting point for discovering one's true nature and understanding one's purpose. Each person's mission is often hidden behind the veil of their problems. What seems to be the greatest obstacle to happiness may actually be the key to achieving one's purpose. Let us remember those who were able to turn their greatest suffering into something grand. They used the experience of solitude and inner struggle to create something that resonated in the hearts of people around the world. And every human being has the same potential. All experiences, including moments of solitude, shape an individual, preparing them for something greater. You just have to believe in it and keep moving forward, not stopping there. So, if one is feeling isolated today, it is important to realize that this feeling can be a starting point for making deeper and more meaningful connections with the world around us. This temporary pause may be setting one on the right path, even if the ultimate goal is still unclear. The course of events must be trusted, for the universe never acts without a definite plan. When one realizes the opening prospects, it will become obvious that all previous experiences have been a kind of overture to something truly outstanding. The question arises, what was his soul trying to convey to him in this silence of the world? It is necessary to pay attention to those who are really near. Loneliness has an amazing property. It not only helps a person to understand himself better, but also reveals the true face of those around him. When the masks begin to fall, it becomes clear who remains near in a difficult moment. It is in moments of silence that these people demonstrate the true value of human relationships. It is often the case that there are people in a person's life who accompany them only in times of joy, success, and active progress. However, when the pace of life slows down and there is silence, it turns out that some relationships were much more fragile than they seemed. Imagine a situation where you suddenly find yourself isolated. At first glance, this may seem like a negative experience. However, in reality, this discovery has tremendous value. It is in such moments that one begins to truly appreciate the connections that play an important role in one's life. Those relationships that can withstand any trials, pauses, and inevitable changes that occur on life's journey. Isolation not only helps to identify who genuinely stays close, but also helps to build deeper and more authentic relationships. One begins to realize that the quantity of contact will never equal the quality of communication. One may come to realize the need to distance oneself from some people, while with others, on the contrary, one needs to strengthen the bond. This kind of adjustment in relationships is an important part of personal growth, as connecting with those who are truly supportive and appreciative brings a sense of fulfillment. The process of identifying true friends and loved ones also affects self-image. Ultimately, in seeking external support, being single reveals that the most important person in everyone's life is themselves. By becoming a better friend to oneself, one ceases to depend on the approval of others for a sense of fulfillment. This period of life transforms the perception of the surrounding world, radically changing the nature of interpersonal relationships. Relationships previously built on the basis of personal needs and demands now give way to genuine, deep ties based on sincere understanding and mutual respect. This transformation provides a unique opportunity to separate the grain from the chaff, revealing the true nature of those around you. Take a closer look. Who actively seeks out your community? Who provides support in times of need? Who respects your desire for self-discovery and reflection? It is these people, like priceless gifts, who are the true riches of your life. They will be with you throughout your journey, both in joy and in sorrow. In the process of realizing the value of these authentic connections, don't forget that periods of solitude and introspection also play an important role in strengthening you and preparing you for new encounters based on honesty and reciprocity. Think about it. Who stays by your side even when there is silence around you? The universe is constantly sending us signs, but only those who are able to listen to the silence can perceive them. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we are often so absorbed in the external noise that we stop noticing the messages that the universe is trying to convey to us. It is in silence, in moments of solitude and solitude, that the most important revelations come. These messages are not always in clear words or ready-made formulas, but are manifested through feelings, intuition, and sudden insights that come like a light touch. One's inner voice is often muffled, like a whisper in the depths of the soul. Only at the moment of accepting emptiness as an integral part of life's journey, an individual gains the ability to pick up truly meaningful signals. When the external noises subside, the universe, as if creating a sacred space of silence, provides an opportunity for union with something greater and incomprehensible. This emptiness, often unsettling, is actually fertile ground for fresh ideas and insights, encouraging us to slow down, reflect, and listen to our inner voice. However, listening to the silence requires considerable courage, as it exposes truths that may have long been ignored. It is in such moments that deep questions are born, concerning the rightness of the chosen path or the true sources of happiness. The universe is in no hurry to provide immediate answers, but it does sow seeds that require painstaking nurturing. So how do we recognize these messages? It is not a rational explanation, but rather a feeling, a sudden idea, a thought-provoking memory, a sense of peace, even in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. These are the paths that the universe uses to guide a person. But to notice them, one must learn to listen to the silence. In order to truly grasp the deeper meaning of what is happening, one must open oneself to the unknown. This implies the ability to appreciate silence without trying to drown it out with extraneous stimuli. It is important to realize that answers to exciting questions do not always come instantly. They need time to mature and manifest themselves at the right moment. The emptiness we sometimes feel is not an eternal state. It is only a temporary phenomenon, like the night before dawn. And it is during this period that it teaches us to trust in forces beyond our own understanding. The universe, like a wise creator, has an unfathomable plan, and all experiences, including moments of loneliness, are an integral part of that plan. The void, like a skillful sculptor, prepares us for the events to come, shaping and customizing us for what is to come. It can be compared to a pause in a piece of music, which, being necessary, allows the next chord to sound even more vividly and expressively. Instead of being afraid of the void, we should listen to it, allow ourselves to feel and understand the message it carries. Although it may be uncomfortable at first, it is in this silence that we can discover the answers to our deepest questions. What is the universe trying to convey to us in this moment, if we allow it to do so? We may find that there is much more meaning in the silence than we ever imagined. Imagine that your soul is preparing for a new stage of its development. Any period of solitude or silence you are experiencing now has an important purpose: to prepare you for the changes to come. Life is a series of cycles, and each cycle presents us with specific challenges. Before entering a new phase, you need to strengthen your inner world, heal your wounds, and attune yourself to what lies ahead. It is like preparing the soil before planting seeds. Without proper preparation, nothing can fully develop. And this is what the universe is doing now, working on you. This preparation can be subtle or quite intense, depending on the magnitude of the changes ahead. You may feel as if everything is frozen, but in fact, there is painstaking work going on. It is as if the universe is adjusting the details, eliminating everything unnecessary, and giving you exactly what you really need. In this process, it is crucial to trust what is happening. Trust that what seems like stagnation or lack of anything today is actually a form of protection. You are being protected so that you can move forward with renewed strength and confidence. There comes a time when seclusion becomes an inevitable part of life's journey, and it is important to face this period with an open heart rather than resist it. Accepting isolation as an integral phase of personal development allows for a deeper appreciation of the lessons it brings. At this point, it is worth asking, what knowledge and experience can I learn from this situation? What outdated beliefs and standards should I abandon? What aspects of my personality need to be strengthened and developed? The answers to these questions may not come immediately, but the process of introspection itself indicates a readiness for personal growth and transformation. An equally important aspect is taking care of your own energy. The period of isolation provides a unique opportunity to regain your strength, both physical and emotional. Dedicate this time to yourself. Engage in activities that bring pleasure and nourish the soul. Show compassion and kindness to yourself, for no one goes through profound change without moments of vulnerability. It is important to remember that this phase is temporary. It is a stepping stone to building a stronger, more whole, and purposeful version of yourself. And when a new stage of life comes, everything that has been experienced will make sense and become a valuable experience on the way to self-realization. One will realize that periods of silence, moments of stillness, and even shed tears played a key role in one's personal growth and transformation. Looking back on the path he has traveled, he realizes that the universe did not oppose him, but, on the contrary, purposefully prepared him for future accomplishments. In this connection, a natural question arises: what concrete steps can be taken today in order to accept this process with an open heart and strengthen one's inner core for future events? After all, as experience shows, something more significant awaits ahead. Solitude should be embraced as an opportunity to find true strength. Although this state may seem heavy and depressing, it holds a profound truth that people often tend to ignore. It is in solitude that one is able to discover one's true power. When all external ties are loosened, the moment comes when he realizes that the source of strength and resilience he has been searching for so long has always been within himself. It is not the people around him or external circumstances that define who he is, but rather how he chooses to respond to moments of silence and solitude. Accepting solitude does not mean passively submitting to it, but rather recognizing it as an integral part of personal development. To illustrate this idea, we can invoke the image of a mountain. Even when it rises in solitude, it does not cease to be powerful and majestic. Just as trees resist fierce winds and storms, so periods of solitude are not a sign of weakness, but rather tests of strength. These moments allow one to realize that even in the darkest and most difficult times, one has the inner resources necessary to keep moving forward. It is in this personal confrontation that the true strength of each individual is revealed. This strength is not given from the outside, but is revealed by the person himself in the process of overcoming difficulties. When a person accepts his or her loneliness, a transformation takes place. It ceases to be a burden and becomes a powerful stimulus for development. During such periods, people begin to listen more attentively to their inner voices, gain respect for themselves, and realize that there is no need for constant affirmation of their value from the outside world. Dependence on external approval gradually diminishes, giving way to an emotional independence that gives a sense of freedom. This inner strength prepares a person to meet any challenge, because it is drawn from the deep and unshakable core of his or her own self. Solitude not only builds character, but also teaches one to value genuine connections with others. When a person gains the ability to be his own best companion, he begins to truly value those relationships that are filled with sincerity and mutual respect. In the future, interpersonal relationships will lose the character of necessity, becoming a conscious choice. People will stop putting the responsibility on others to fill their own inner voids, learning to appreciate what is already present in their lives. The quality of the people in their environment will equalize naturally as each person achieves harmony with themselves. Instead of fearing loneliness, it should be seen as an ally, as a time to reconnect with oneself, to strengthen the inner core and discover new facets of one's personality. It is not the world that has turned away, but the universe provides an opportunity to remember one's true self. Having passed this stage, a person will become stronger, more conscious, and more prepared for the challenges of life, because loneliness does not weaken, but reveals its potential. The strength that many seek is already present within, and one only needs to allow it to manifest. At this stage, it is important to rethink loneliness, no longer seeing it as a punishment. This is the beginning of a deeper journey to find answers to important questions, find inner strength, and unlock your potential. Clarity is a quality that makes something clear and easy to understand. In the context of communication, clarity implies that ideas and thoughts are expressed in such a way that their meaning is not doubted or misunderstood by the audience. Clarity is achieved through the use of simple and specific words, precise sentence structure, and logical sequencing. When information is presented clearly, it facilitates a more effective exchange of knowledge and ideas. In turn, lack of clarity can lead to confusion, misunderstanding, and even conflict, especially in a business or professional environment. Therefore, clarity is an important aspect of successful communication in all walks of life.